The Resident Evil 9 DLC just got a major update, and honestly, this changes everything. We finally have some new information about the DLC's development, its possible release window, and why Capcom decided to delay it. If you're wondering what's going on with Ada Wong, Chris Redfield, or where the Resident Evil story is heading next, then you're gonna want to watch this. According to well-known Resident Evil insider Dusk Golem, Capcom is heavily investing in the Resident Evil 9 DLC. That doesn't just mean a few extra missions or a short side story. It sounds like this expansion is going to be much bigger than most people expected. The last update we received about the DLC suggested that Leon's story was basically over, which honestly wasn't much of an update. But now it seems Capcom has much bigger plans. Dusk Golem claims this expansion will be significantly larger than the Shadows of Rose DLC from Resident Evil Village. And while Shadows of Rose was a great expansion, this new DLC could be on an entirely different level. What's even more interesting is that this DLC may shape the future of the entire Resident Evil franchise. It's expected to set up the next chapter of the series and answer some of the biggest questions left after Resident Evil 9. That's exactly why Capcom appears to be putting so much time, money, and effort into making it as big as possible. Now, if you've been watching my channel, you already know we've talked about the DLC's release date several times. Based on earlier reports, many of us expected the DLC to launch sometime this year. Naturally, fans have been waiting for an official announcement. However, things have changed. According to the latest information, Capcom has decided to release the Resident Evil 9 DLC after the Code Veronica remake. At first, I wasn't a huge fan of that decision because I really wanted to continue Leon's story as soon as possible. But after hearing the reason behind it, it actually starts to make sense. Resident Evil 9 has become one of the biggest successes in the franchise's history. The game reportedly sold around 5 million copies in just 10 days, outperforming Resident Evil 4 Remake and Resident Evil Village. It's now one of Capcom's most profitable Resident Evil games ever. Capcom knows they have a massive hit on their hands. Resident Evil 9 is basically a goldmine for the company, so instead of rushing out a small expansion, they're taking their time to deliver something much bigger and much better. Let's be honest. If Capcom released a short 3 or 4 hour DLC for $30, most Resident Evil fans would still buy it. I know I probably would, but instead of doing the bare minimum, it looks like they're trying to create a true expansion that feels worthy of the main game. So why the delay? According to Dusk Golem, the biggest reason is simple. Most of Capcom's Resident Evil development team is currently focused on the Code Veronica remake. Right now, that's their #1 priority. The report says Capcom is aiming to finish development on Code Veronica by the first quarter of 2027. But finishing development doesn't mean the game is ready to launch immediately. After that comes bug fixing, polishing, optimization, quality assurance, marketing, and final testing. Because of that, I personally don't think Code Veronica will release during the first quarter of 2027. My guess is we'll probably see it sometime in the second quarter of 2027, maybe around April, May, or June. And once Code Veronica is released, that's when Capcom can fully shift its attention to the Resident Evil 9 DLC. Honestly, I'm okay with that. We just spent an entire game playing as Leon Kennedy again. And it would be amazing to finally see Claire Redfield return in a major role. The last time we played as Claire in a modern game was Resident Evil 2 Remake. And let's be honest, most players chose Leon's campaign first. Code Veronica is one of the most important games in Resident Evil history. It brings back Claire Redfield, Chris Redfield, Albert Wesker, Rockfort Island, and some of the most memorable moments in the franchise. If Capcom gives it the same treatment they gave Resident Evil 4 Remake, it could easily become one of the best Resident Evil games ever made. In one of my previous videos, I predicted that the Resident Evil 9 DLC would launch around October 2026. But after these new reports, that prediction no longer seems likely. The roadmap now appears much clearer. First, we'll get the Code Veronica remake. Then, sometime after that, we'll finally receive the Resident Evil 9 DLC. Even though the wait is longer, I think it'll be worth it if Capcom delivers a massive expansion instead of something rushed. The biggest question now is what this DLC will actually be about. Many fans are expecting Ada Wong to finally appear, and according to Dusk Golem, Ada is indeed expected to play an important role in the DLC. If that's true, it opens the door for a lot of exciting possibilities. Will we finally find out what Chris Redfield has been doing behind the scenes? Will Leon and Ada reunite once again? Will this DLC set up Resident Evil 10? And what direction will Capcom take the franchise after this? There are still so many unanswered questions, and that's exactly why fans are so excited. This expansion isn't just another DLC. It could be the bridge that connects Resident Evil 9 to the future of the entire series. Of course, remember that some of this information comes from insider reports, so until Capcom officially announces everything, it's always best to take these leaks with a grain of salt. But Dusk Golem has a solid track record when it comes to Resident Evil news, so these reports are definitely worth paying attention to. So, what do you think about all of this? Are you happy that Capcom is taking more time to make the DLC bigger, or would you rather play it as soon as possible? And are you more excited for the Code Veronica remake or the Resident Evil 9 DLC? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more Resident Evil news, leaks, and updates, and I'll see you guys in the next one.